Hi, my name is Muhammad Faris bin Muhammad NAZRI and my matric number is A20A1485. For introduction, financial management is one of the most important aspects in business. Financial management also managerial activity concerned in planning and controlling of the firm's financial resources to generate returns on the invested funds. Company's financial management will come with an income statement that will show whether the company is making profit or loss from the currently operating. So we choose two automotive company which are Proton and Produa for our ratio analysis. This is the business nature about Protons. I will share a little bit history about it. As we know, Proton was established in 1985 as the only national vehicle car company of Malaysia. Proton sales declined in the late 1980 due to a lack of technical expertise and the global economic downturn. Proton has been producing a mix of locally engineered vehicles and engineering batches since the year 2000. And the last thing I can conclude is that Proton's business structure is a limited liability company. This is the business nature about Produa, and I will share a little history about it too. As we know, Produa was established in 1992. It is Malaysia's largest car maker, closely followed by Proton. Initially, Produa mostly produced mini cars and super minis and did not have models in the same market segment as Proton. Produa does not design or engineer its major components such as engines and transmissions. And the last thing that I can conclude as well is that Produa structure is a limited liability company as well.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is MOHAMAD Irfan HAKEEM bin AZHAR. My number is A20A15420. I want to present about vertical ratio analysis. Vertical ratio analysis for company DRB, HAIQAL and MBMR. For current ratio, DRB HAIQAL is 0.57 while MBMR is 3.93. For exit test ratio, DRB HAIQAL is 0.42 while MBMR is 3.29. For working capital turnover, DRB HAIQAL is 1.08 while MBMR is 4.65. For debt ratio, DRB HAIQAL is 0.78 while MBMR is 0.07. Then, for equity ratio, DRB HAIQAL is 0.53 while MBMR is 0.0000734. For account receivable ratio, DRB HAIQAL is 129 times, while MBMR is 3 times. Okay, for net profit margin, DRB HAIQAL is 0.04, while MBMR is 0.10. For inventory turnover, 3.08 for DRB HAIQAL and 29.37 for MBMR. Okay, return of assets, DRB HAIQAL is 0.01 while MBMR is 0.08. For return of equity, DRB HAIQAL is 0.06 while MBMR is 9.99. For fixed assets turnover, DRB HAIQAL is 0.44 while MBMR is 1.04. For asset turnover, DRB HAIQAL is 0.29 while MBMR is 0.80. For gross profit margin, DRB HAIQAL is 0.05 while MBMR is 0.08. For days inventory outstanding, DRB HAIQAL is 118 times while MBMR is 12.
My name is NABILA SYUHADA. My metric number is A18A0403. So I'm going to present about overall vertical analysis between MBMR and Pro2 into year 2020. As we can see, MBMR dominantly have good financial condition in year 2020 compared to DRB HAIQAL. In terms of liquidity ratio, we can see that MBMR has more larger margin to cover up their short-term debts. Working capital, MBR also have a good working capital, which is the advantage for them to pay off their short-term liabilities. We can see that in terms of inventory turnover, MR dominantly have much more larger ratio compared to the RB HAIQAL. Except in equity ratio, we can see that the RB HAIQAL has much more good equity management compared to MBMR. So in conclusion, we can see that MBMR has more good financial management compared to the RB HAIQAL in year 2020. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Madam. I just want to present you about the value for horizontal analysis for this company. So I just want to present the highest value because we are running out of time. So we start with MBMR company. Current ratio, the highest value was at 2019, which is at 3.74. Exit test ratio 2020, which is 3.18. Working capital turnover 2019, which is 4.97. Debt ratio 2018, which is 0.13. Equity ratio, the high value was 2018, which is 0.05. Account receivable ratio, the highest value was 2020, which is 32.13, or we can say 32 times. Net profit margin 2019, which is 0.12. Inventory turnover also 2019, which is 2020, which is 29.37. Return asset 2019, which is 0.12. Return of equity 2019, which is 0.13. Fixed asset turnover 2019, which is 1.29. Total asset turnover 2019, which is 0.95. Gross profit margin 2020, which is 0.08. Days inventory outstanding, the highest value was at 2018, which is 21.29, which or we can say 21 times. Okay, we continue with the RB HAIQAL horizontal analysis. So also I just say the highest value. The current ratio was at 2019, which is 0.60. Exit test ratio also 2019, which is 0.59. Working capital turnover 2020, which is 1.08. Debt ratio also 2020, which is 0.78. Equity ratio also 2020, which is 0.53. Account receivable ratio, the highest value was 2019, which is 154.58, or we can convert it as 155 times. So net profit margin, the highest value was 2019 and 2020, which is 0.04. Inventory turnover 2019, which is 43.30. Return of asset 2019 and 2020, which is they have a same value at 0.01. 2018 0.01. Net income, return on equity, the highest value was 2020, which is 0.06. Fixed asset turnover 2080, which is 0.48. Total asset turnover 2018 and 2020, which is they has same value at 0.29. gross profit margin 2018, which is 0.28, and lastly days inventory outstanding, the highest value was at 2020, which is 118.34, or we can convert it as 118 times.
Hi madam, my name is Lian Chen. Now I'm going to explain horizontal analysis ratio for DRB HAIQAL for the years 2018 to 2020. The first is the current ratio. The current ratio of DRB HAIQAL is slightly increased from 2018 to 2019, but in 2020 it has slightly decreased. This is because DRB HAIQAL is doing great and able to increase the current liabilities in 2019, but not better in 2020. And next is the asset test ratio. The asset test ratio of DRB HAIQAL is slightly increased from 2018 to 2019, while in 2020 it has slightly decreased. The next is the working capital turnover. The working capital turnover ratio of DRB HAIQAL is increased gradually from these 3 years. This is because DRB HAIQAL improved the performance in generating a lot of sales than the money it used in years 2020 compared to the previous years. The next is the debt ratio. The debt ratio of DRB HAIQAL has remained the same in 2018 and 2019, but in 2020 it has increased slightly. The next is the equity ratio. The equity ratio of DRB HAIQAL is increased gradually from these 3 years. Besides that, the account receivable ratio of DRB HAIQAL has increased from 2018 to 2019, but in 2020 it has slightly decreased. The next is the net profit margin. The net margin of DRB HAIQAL has increased from 2018 to 2019, but in 2020 it remained the same. This is because DRB HAIQAL has massive profit in 2019, as it has the highest net profit margin compared to all other years, and keep the net profit remain in 2020. The next is the inventory turnover. The inventory turnover of the DRB HAIQAL has increased rapidly from 2018 to 2019, but the inventory turnover also has fallen dramatically in 2020. This is because the company holding the inventory longer in 2020. The next is a return of asset. The return of asset of DRB HAIQAL has increased slightly from 2018 to 2019, but it remained the same well in the 2020. The next is a return on equity. The return on equity of DRB HAIQAL has increased gradually from these 3 years. Furthermore, fixed asset turnover. The fixed asset turnover of DRB HAIQAL is slightly decreased from 2018 to 2019, but in 2020 it has increased again. This is because DRB HAIQAL has effectively utilized investment in fixed asset to generate a revenue in these 3 years. The next is the total asset turnover. The total asset turnover of DRB HAIQAL has slightly decreased from 2018 to 2019, but in 2020 it has slightly increased. And the next is the gross profit margin. The gross profit margin of DRB HAIQAL is decreased dramatically from 2018 to 2019, and in 2020 it has increased again. And the last is the days inventory outstanding. The days inventory outstanding of DRB HAIQAL is going downward from 2018 to 2019, but in 2020 it has increased statistically. That means in years 2020 DRB HAIQAL has a good performance in sales compared to other 2 years. That's all for me. Thank you.
My name is RAMIS and my matrix number is A20 Today I would like to explain about horizontal analysis ratio of MBR, which is about per dua for the year of 2018, 2019 and 2020. We can see that current ratio of the MBMR is increasing from 2018 to 2019 and slightly decreased on 2020. From this we can know that MBMR is current asset is always higher than current liability. The next analysis about acid test ratio. We can know from acid test ratio is always increasing and lower than current ratio. This is because MBMR is highly depend on inventory. The working capital, debt ratio and equity ratio are decreasing gradually every year. Next is the account receivable ratio is remains same in 2018 and 2019. as 25 times and increased slightly at 2020 about 32 times. The net profit margin of MBMR has small changes in portion, which is in 2018 0.1 and 2019 increased to 1.2, and in 2020 they reduced back for 0.1. The next analysis about inventory turnover of MBMR is keep increasing every year. Thus, it proved that MBMR is highly dependent on inventory. The next one is the return of asset in 2019 is the highest compared to other years. This is because the net income and the total asset of the year is higher than else. The return on equity MBMR in 2019 also highest, and this shows that effectively they are using equity finance to fund operation and grow the company in 2020 compared to other years. The fixed asset and the total asset turnover in 2020 is the least because MBMR is not effectively utilizing the investment on fixed asset and asset to generate the revenue and sales. The gross profit margin is keep increasing because MBMR is able to produce a goods at low cost with high sales. The final analysis is day inventory outstanding is keep decreasing every year and shows that MBMR have improving performance in sales every year. Thank you. In conclusion, we know that Malaysia is well known in annual production output of over 500,000 vehicles. Malaysia's automotive industry is the third largest in Southeast Asia and 23rd largest in the world. The two companies in Malaysia manufacturing car is Proton and Pedua. First and foremost, both companies should recover outstanding payments. This will eventually help to increase their cash flow in the company and also increase the asset in the company. Besides that, two companies should collaborate and or share holds with some international companies. As we all know, Proton and Pedua is being shareholder with China. This can help the two companies to improve their manufacturing in cars. As an example, the new design and technology for Myvi gives more profit to Pedua, so that Proton and Pedua should join with more other international companies and increase the quality of their products. Finally, both companies are expert to have employee recruitment and training system in the place to produce better quality employees. Customer will get better service from quality employees. In other words, organizational performance is the comparison between actual result or outputs with expert result. The analysis focuses on three outcomes: shareholders value performance, financial performance, and market efficiency. Employees retention and loyalty improve productivity, overcome communication barriers, clear accountability, and cost benefit are all the benefit to improving organizational performance. Thank you.